Welcome to our channel. We're so happy to have you here. Don't forget to subscribe and help us hit our goal of 100,000 subscribers. World War II. In Egypt, a group of Maori soldiers from New Zealand perform a traditional haka, July 25, 1941. Japanese old couple are walked out of their home to relocation, February 1942. Decapitated statue of Joseph Stalin's head on the streets of Budapest during the Hungarian Revolution of 1956. Danish model Winnie Holman. Cannes, 1975, by Helmut Newton. David Isom, 19, broke the color line in a segregated pool in Florida on June 8, 1958, which resulted in officials closing the facility. The coronation of the Emperor of the Central African Republic, Bokassa. It consumed a third of the car's budget, and among the dishes served was the meat of his political opponents. Charlie Chaplin being hoisted up by Douglas Fairbanks at a war bonds rally in front of Federal Hall on April 8, 1918. At the time, it was the largest gathering in Wall Street history, attended by 20,000 to 30,000 people. Czechoslovak man posing with half loaf of bread in front of banner. The meaning of the policy of the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia, Paradise for Humans, Communist Czechoslovakia, probably 1960s. Boy standing in front of fallen statue of Lenin, Ethiopia, 1991. 13-year-old Barbara Kent, center, and her fellow campers play in a river near Ruidoso, New Mexico, on July 16, 1945, just hours after the atomic bomb detonation 40 miles away. Barbara was the only person in the photo that lived to see 30 years old. Before the creation of the EPA, New York was one of America's most polluted cities, 1966. Atelier photo. A lesbian couple in semi-drag wedding attire, Kingdom of Hungary. Budapest, 1920. Armored flamethrower during tests on the outskirts of the city of Lorena, São Paulo, during the Constitutionalist Revolution of 1932. Civil rights marchers wearing placards reading, "I am a man," pass by on March 29, 1968. Coal miner waiting to get into the communal shower at the end of his shift, taken in Gelsenkirchen, Germany, 1958. By photographer Max Scheler. Cleaning women washing a crucifix, 1938. British schoolboys holding discarded syringes, 1970s. We used to play with these in school all the time because they were like mini water pistols without the needle. Sergeant Reckless was a Mongolian mare who served in the Korean War with the U.S. Marines. She carried ammo under fire, once making 51 solo trips in a day. Honored with medals and promotions, she became a beloved hero and was later awarded the Dickin Medal for bravery. David Jones, a.k.a. Dave J., a.k.a. David Bowie, in 1963. He was 16 years old when he stepped in as saxophonist and lead singer for the Conrads at a gig in a South London pub. Soviet soldier in Goebbels' room, May 1945, photographed by William von der Wert. Babies who lost their parents during the Vietnam War being airlifted back to the United States for adoption, 1975. Burlington Mayor Bernie Sanders picks up trash on his own in a public park after being elected in 1981. His first electoral victory. Arctic explorer Peter Freuchen stands next to his third wife, Dagmar Freuchen Gale. He is wearing a polar bear coat made from a bear he killed himself, 1947. Marine PFC George Chanak pauses by a row of fallen Marines on Okinawa, May 1945. George Chanak was killed in action not long after this picture was taken. He was 19 years old. Chinese tanks massing before the Tiananmen Square massacre, June 4, 1989. Anti-war demonstrators protest outside the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Shirtless protester Frank C. Plata later died while serving the U.S. Army in Vietnam. Photo by Perry Riddle. Cheney Wenjack, a young indigenous boy who died at age 12 while trying to escape from a Canadian residential school and go home, see 1960s. Herero in chains. During the colonial period in German Southwest Africa, now Namibia, the Germans brutally suppressed the indigenous population. At least 60% Herero and 50% Nama population were killed in the Herero and Nama genocide. 1904 to 08. Coal miners coming up a coal mine elevator after a day of work in the 1920s Belgium. Child trying to cut a sunbeam, 1886. Anti-Fascist Congress of the United Front in Berlin, held on July 10, 1932. It was attended by 1,465 delegates from all over Germany. Aboriginal men in chains at Widnam Prison in Australia. Crowd in Times Square, New York City, celebrating the surrender of Germany, May 7, 1945. Evangelical Field Mass for girls of the BDM and boys of the Hitler Youth, 1933. Cow shoes used by moonshiners in the Prohibition days to disguise their footprints, 1924. Boiler explosion of Camp OT 13020 on May 1948. The main waiting room of New York City's Pennsylvania Station, circa 1911. The station was largely demolished in 1963. Funeral for ONB leader Stepan Bandera in West Germany, assassinated by the KGB with cyanide gas, October 1959. Camp guards at concentration camp Buchenwald, who were captured and beaten by the prisoners on the day of liberation. April 1945. The first morning after Sweden switched from driving on the left to the right, 1967. Cudjoe Kazula Lewis, the last known survivor of the Atlantic slave trade between Africa and North America, early 1900s. Chinese guerrilla fighter Chung Ben-hwa smiling moment before execution by the Japanese. She was 24. Late 1938. French girl having her head shaved for having sex with a German, Montélimar, France, 1944. Children found by Soviet forces in Auschwitz, liberated on this date 77 years ago. January 27, 1945. Longest working life. Japanese Shigeshio Izumi worked 98 years on a beet plantation, retiring at the age of 105. Peruvian forces rescuing Japanese diplomats during the Japanese embassy hostage crisis, April 22, 1997. 14 terrorist members of the Tupac Amaru Revolutionary Movement, MRTA, took hostage hundreds of high-level diplomats, government and military officials, and business executives. Cetshwayo, king of the Zulu, who defeated the British at the Battle of Isandlwana, 1878. Auto dealership using their front window broken by Babe Ruth to advertise, 1926. CIA agent Felix Rodriguez left and Bolivian soldiers pose with Che Guevara moments before his execution. Bolivia, 9th October 1967. Captured Chinese soldiers beg for their lives to a South Korean soldier thinking that they are going to be executed. Korea, 1951. Austro-Hungarian tail gunner armed with 10 Mauser C-96 handguns, World War I. Hick revisits Eleanor Roosevelt's close relationship with journalist Lorena Hickok, a lesser-known chapter of American history. Brooklyn Dodger baseball star Jackie Robinson holding his young son Jackie Jr. on his lap as he sits with his wife Rachel on front steps of their home, Brooklyn, New York, 1949. Photo by Nina Lean. Big Nims of the United States 3rd Battalion, 366th Infantry, laughing at the sight of his comrades with gas masks on, 1918. A century ago, the government hired unemployed young men to build America's forests, trails, and parks. Photos show FDR's tree army. We thought it was the end of the world. How the U.S. accidentally dropped 4 nuclear bombs on Spain in 1966. British soldiers interrupted during drag show rehearsals by a German raid manning a BL 6-inch Mark 7 naval gun at Shornamead Fort, England in 1940. 14-year-old Mohawk and future Olympic gold medalist Wanique Horn Miller cradling her younger sister after she herself was bayoneted in the chest by a Canadian soldier. Quebec, Oka Crisis, 26 September 1990. Florence Thompson, the migrant mother in Dorothea Lange's famous 1936 photo, holds up her likeness during an interview after her identity was discovered, October 10, 1978. Elizabeth Lilo Gloden stands before judges, on trial for being involved in the attempt on Adolf Hitler's life, 1944. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., is attacked by States' Rights Party member Jimmy Robinson as King tries to register at the Hotel Albert in Selma, Alabama on January 18, 1965. Dorothy counts the first black student at Harry Harding High School, Charlotte, North Carolina, walking to school, 4th September, 1957.